Hello and welcome back to the Matrix Green Pill podcast. I'm your host, Hilmarie. In the world of service and beauty, we are taught that a full book is the ultimate badge of honor. We equate back-to-back appointments and physical exhaustion with success. But for many, being fully booked is actually a glitch in the matrix, a hidden trap that keeps you financially stuck while your potential as a CEO suffocates. Today's guest broke that code. She started her journey at 19, facing a staggering £50,000 debt. Today, she's a leading business strategist and the founder of a 7-figure beauty empire, hosting a top-rated podcast and authoring the industry manifesto, Get Off the Tools. Katie Godfrey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and what an intro. Thank you.
Katie, you spend your life helping others navigate their turning points, helping them transition from the salon floor to the boardroom. But I'd like to start with the wisdom gained from your own journey. We call this the green pill moment. Looking back at your young entrepreneur standing in her first shop, balancing that immense financial pressure with her big dreams, what green pill advice would you give to your younger self?
Great question. So do you know what? During all of these years of business, I wish sometimes I could just go back and just really look at the success that you have on each point and just take a moment to be able to pause and celebrate yourself in that moment. And that's definitely what I would tell my younger self. We're on the journey, but enjoy the journey, because we're so used to hitting the goal and then being right, what's next, and not actually just taking that step back and being like, do you know what? This is where I really wanted to be a year ago. This is where I really wanted to be 3 years ago.
That's such a great perspective and such great advice for your younger self. Stop, pause, and celebrate the successes, even the small ones. I love that. Now let's look at how you can apply that logic to the high-pressure worlds our listeners live in. I want to start at the crucible moment of your career. At 19 years old, you opened your first salon with £50,000 in debt, as I mentioned in the intro. Looking back, was that debt a weight that slowed you down, or was it the glitch that forced you to innovate faster than your competitors?
Oh my gosh. So it definitely felt like a weight, as in it was heavy. I knew that I had all that debt, and it actually grew to like £65,000 as well. But it was definitely the force. It just kept me going, because I was like, I have no choice. I have to physically make this work, and I have to be successful to get rid of this. Otherwise, my only option is bankruptcy, which I wasn't willing to do. So for me, it definitely helped me with my progression. It definitely helped me be more successful. It definitely was my motivator to keep going. I had a goal to clear all debt within the 5 years of opening the salon, which I done, which I was so proud of. That was definitely a day of celebration. Yeah, it definitely kept me going. It didn't bog me down.
I love that. So you had no choice. It was a make or break situation, and you just said, I'm going to make this work, because the alternative wasn't acceptable to you. In your book, Get Off the Tools, you highlight that being fully booked can be a trap. Why is the industry so addicted to the busyness metric, and how do we start valuing margin over movement?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a trap that we fall into. And I think even when we know that, we still are trying to get more fully booked. But ultimately, there's more to being fully booked. We have to work on the business. And one of the most simple things of that is knowing and understanding your profits and your pricing. And actually, what we're finding is people are hustling so much on the fact of being fully booked, but they're undercharging, which then means that they think they're making all this money in the moment because they're fully booked, but then actually at the end of the month there's still not enough money to pay the wages or to pay themselves or to pay the overheads. So they're like, well, I'm fully booked, but I still haven't got no money at the end of the month. But that's because their pricing is wrong. So it's actually looking at the business as a whole, which you can only do if you just step outside the business, even if that's just a little bit every now and then, and being okay, what are my numbers? What are the goals? What do I actually want from business, rather than looking at social media and seeing everyone else is booked up up. So does that mean I have to be booked up too? It's most probably not the reason you opened your business in the first place. So really just stepping back and looking at your business as a whole, because actually if you price right, you could most really work half of the time earning the same money without hustling, trying to get fully booked and getting all the clients. So it's just looking at it from another perspective, but also that business perspective. Lots of us come into this industry not being the business person that we need to be when we open the doors to a business. So we just like doing the treatments, we like serving the clients. We think, well, this is wonderful. But actually when you see, okay, I'm running a business here, like I need to now get this working for me rather than everyone else, that's when booked up and being busy isn't so popular.
Because I like how you said you need to step outside of the business, even if it's for a short time, and then figure out what is it that I need to, what is it that I actually want out of the business. And just because you're busy, as you said, maybe it means you're actually undercharging and not getting the value that you should for yourself. You have fascinating insights into why the beauty and wellness industry is surprisingly resilient during times of global uncertainty. Why do clients continue to prioritize these treatments as confidence anchors when budgets are seemingly tight?
I think that beauty is just so much more than just that treatment. Like, yes, that makes someone feel confident, that makes someone feel pretty and all of those things, but it's so much more deeper than that. When you're stepping into a salon and it might be that regular place that you're going to every 2 weeks or once a month or every 6 weeks if it's your hair, you get to know the people behind there. It becomes like a haven. It becomes a safe place. Those people sometimes even become your therapist because you just blurt out everything that's going on day to day in life. So it actually becomes like a real wellness treat as well as having a treatment. And I think unless you're adding this into your day-to-day and your diary, you don't realize until it happens. But taking that time out, being able to put your phone away for an hour, being able to just switch off because you can't do anything else other than being in the chair at that point, it really is so good for the mind. We often say as well with therapists and hairdressers and estheticians, like we're so much more than just the therapist. We are the counselor, we are the therapist, we are, that healer, we are the person to talk to. We have so many different roles within that treatment time. And that's why it's not just a beauty treatment anymore. That's long gone. And I feel that people really realize that in COVID times. And obviously now we're in another uncertain time, people are seeing that again.
Yes, you're absolutely right. The Moroccan bath is one place you simply cannot take your phone. It forces you to have that time without any distractions, which is very good for everyone. Excellent. When the world feels chaotic, as you mentioned, like it is now, the salon often becomes a normalcy anchor for clients. How do you coach leaders to support their staff through that tension while maintaining a calm environment for the customer?
I think we really need to nurture the teams. We need to give them as many tools as possible to be able to cope. We need to make sure that we're coming together as a team, and the leader really needs to be at the forefront of that. The team need to be looked after first before anyone else, because if they're not looked after, then that's going to go through to the clients. So I always tell my salons and my clinics, like, okay, let's do regular team meetings. Let's make sure that we're looking after them. Let's actually hear what are they worried about, what are they fearful about in this time. Are they able to actually work or are they not? Everyone's fear and the way that they deal with things right now is going to be very different to every single person. That's going to come down to their childhood, what other trauma they've had, what other experiences they've had during their lives. So I think everyone's thoughts and feelings here are really valid. And those staff that can work, which hopefully is going to be everyone, but just reassuring them, giving them time, letting, just having that time with you and putting things in place as a business to be able to support them on that, which then you can then go, right, okay, this is what we're now doing to our clients. We need to make sure that we're reassuring the clients. This is and whatever that looks like within that business. But it's just listening to the team, making sure that they feel cared and looked after as well, because ultimately they're the ones that are running our business.
Absolutely. You make a good point that no two people are the same in this situation because everyone has a different life experience. So take that time to listen to them first, see what everyone needs, And then once they looked after, then they can take the next step and look after the client.
Yeah, and I think everyone watches the leader, right? It depends a lot of the time of how the leader steps up. And when they see that the leader is nurturing, when they see the leader is caring, when they see the leader is putting their team's thoughts and feelings first and their clients, everyone else kind of wants to support that too. So then the team come on board with that. If the leader hasn't got these things in place, then that's when you'll tend to see the teams fall apart a little bit more.
Absolutely. Let's shift gears and talk about personal branding. You've watched the industry move toward personal branding. Why is a faceless brand now a liability in the beauty space instead of a safe bet?
I think there's so many different ways to look at this. I mean, I've always been big on personal branding from literally that second I opened up my doors 17 years ago. Like, I was always the face of the business because it builds trust. And even those years ago, it built trust. Whereas now we have AI. People want to know who is behind this business. They want to see you on social media. They want to see you through the marketing. There's so many of us doing the same types of business, but how are they choosing one business to another business? It's normally down to the person. People don't buy from just businesses now. They buy from people they like, know, and trust. And you can only really do that with strangers if you're building up that personal brand. So it's something that we really have to get comfortable with in now these business times, because it's very different to 20 years ago. Faceless brands still can work. Yes, they can. They're just harder to build. But I think the longevity and the sustainability is always going to come back to that personal brand. Like, the trust with AI now is just huge. And I've seen this even through my storytelling. Like, I still do stories every day on social media, and I actually story tell. I talk. I go through my day. I go through my worries. I go through my wins. But it's me talking. They know it's not ChatGPT. Whereas now you're looking at everything and it's just that. Content's getting boring. So really bringing up that personal brand does help. It helps you recruit and it also helps you gain clients.
Yes, I think that's excellent insight. It builds trust because, as you say, people buy from people they like, know, and trust. So for some people, naturally, we want to be behind the scenes and not in front of the camera. But it is so important to make that pivot and make that shift to being more visible because it is so important for our brands. You've successfully scaled from a single salon to training academies and a professional product range. For the entrepreneurs listening, how do you strategically decide when to vertically integrate rather than just opening another location?
I think you really need to have a strong business model in the first place. I see people running all the time before they can walk. They get excited and they're like, right, I'm going to go and do this, or I'm going to do that. I'm going to open up this training academy or launch this product range or set up this next salon. And it's like, whoa. Is it all working on the ground as it is now? Are you making the money you actually wanted to make when this was your dream to open up this business? Is this business working without you now? If it's not working without you now, don't go on to the next thing, because it's not going to be possible to two different businesses and give them 100%. Like, if your business now is working on its own and it doesn't necessarily need you in the trenches every day, then yeah, definitely go and do that next thing. But until that point, I really feel that there's so much to do in building a business day to day that many people aren't doing, that you could make your businesses so much stronger than what they currently are if you was just focused. Like, my word last year was focus. Like, if you focus so much on the one thing, it'll become successful. If you then separate that focus and you start a second thing, whether that's a product range, training academy, whatever that might be, it's like right now the current business has 50% of your time and the new business has 50% of your time. Well, we know opening a business needs 100% of your time. So you really just need to make sure that you're really being aware of each step that you take in business. I didn't open up multiple businesses at the same time. It was an organic thing that happened once the last business was running successfully.
Excellent advice. So you're not saying don't diversify. You're just saying make sure that your business model is strong, the business can run itself. Then you can start thinking about going in a different direction. So focus on the first one. Make sure that foundation is stable. You mentor founders all over the world. When you look across different markets and cultures, what is the single most common limiting belief you have to dismantle in entrepreneurs before they can truly scale their revenue?
I think a lot of it comes down to There's so much. I think imposter syndrome, feeling that they're not worthy of creating something, and fear of success. Those are the things that I'm dealing with all of the time. I think now we're living in this world of, scrolling on our phones, and, when we're scrolling, we naturally then start to compare. And that holds people across the globe back. They feel they're not good enough to build their business more, or they feel that what they're doing currently isn't good enough because someone else down the road is shouting that they're fully booked for the next 3 months. So the comparison is a real issue right now across businesses in the globe. And also, going back to the conversation that I've already had, but highlighting that again, is lots of people come into this industry being very good at the treatment, but not necessarily at the business. And that is the one most biggest thing that holds everyone back, because the famous line is, but I'm not an entrepreneur, or but I'm not a businesswoman, or I didn't start this to start a business. Well, you kind of did, because you opened the doors to a location, which then means you're in business, but they just don't see it then. So learning these skills, learning how to build a business, learning marketing, money, mindset, all these things is something that they have to do, but it really stunts everyone's growth.
Yeah, I think that comparison trap is very real. And as you say, with social media being everywhere, it's so easy to start scrolling and start comparing ourselves to what others are doing. So having that imposter syndrome and that fear of I'm not as good as someone else, or I'm not good enough, it does resonate. Katie, let's bridge the gap between high-level vision and grounded execution. We call this the Monday move. You manage multiple award-winning salons, an academy, and a global mentorship program. What did you do this past Monday morning at 9 a.m. to move the needle for your empire? I don't want the 30,000-foot strategy. I want the 9 a.m. reality. Give us the specific protocol you ran to ensure that you were leading your business rather than just reacting to it.
So my Monday morning, I hit the gym, because that always strengthens my mind mentally. And then I actually got back just before 9 a.m., which then I do my numbers every single Monday at 9 a.m., which is so important for me. And when I say my numbers, I look at how much money did the companies make last week. I make sure that I put money into pots to make sure that then every single area we need to cover in business is there. And I make sure that, across the board, that's all working. So really looking at the numbers is what I do every single Monday. And that's exactly what I teach my clients to do as well.
Yeah, because that is the one thing that can easily be left behind, because we do everything else and we don't get down to actually looking at the numbers, and then things can go awry before we've even realized what's happening. That's excellent advice. Very good. Next is our decision inventory. We all make thousands of decisions, but very few define our journey. Looking back at your journey from carrying massive debt to building a globally recognized brand, tell us about a time you had to make a difficult decision to say no to an opportunity, or perhaps walk away from a project that was no longer serving the CEO vision of your life. What did that no cost you in the short term, and what did it gain you in the long run?
I think one of the hardest decisions I made in business was closing my lash brand down. So we had the lash brand for maybe 13 years, and that was a global brand. And when COVID hit, it wasn't as what it used to be. We still kept going for years. It still was successful. But then what I found was, as I grew, especially in business strategy and doing what I do today, which is helping all the other leaders, focusing some of my energy on lashes and the latest trends and testing new products just wasn't what excited me anymore. And I really had to make that decision to close that business. It wasn't something I could sell, I didn't feel, because it had my name on it and I didn't want someone else using the name. So I had to have a closing down sale and we had to close that business. But it wasn't because of anything other than the fact of this didn't float my boat anymore. This didn't excite me. And I believe that, I'm in business for fun, for the adventures, for the growth. And I'm not in a 9-to-5 job to be able to have those reasons. So I closed that business and that was really hard at the time. But my gosh, it was still the best thing I'd done, because I just feel like being in integrity every single day with my businesses is the main thing. And I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing in my companies is what excites me and what I truly believe in. And I just think the lessons from that is the fact of just because you start something, it doesn't mean you have to do it forever. Like you can pivot, you can change things, you can close things, you can open new things. You have to do what you want to do at the end of the day. And just because of closing something doesn't mean that it's a failure. It just means that you're in your next level.
Yeah, I can imagine that would have been really difficult. It wasn't a company you had for a short time. It had your name on 13 years. My goodness. So a very, very difficult decision. But in the long run for you, it was the right decision because then you could focus on the things that really excited you. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Now we have come to the segment of our show where I will ask you some rapid fire questions, our version of a game show. I'll ask you a question. You give me the first thing that comes in your mind. Are you ready?
This is fun, yeah?
What is the hardest habit to kill when moving from technician to CEO?
Saying no to clients, moving them over to staff.
Okay. The biggest misconception corporate leaders have about the beauty industry.
That it doesn't make any money.
The biggest myth about success in the beauty industry.
It's not a real business.
Okay. The one word every salon owner needs to say more often.
No.
Other than get off the tools, what is one business book every service provider should read?
Profit first.
Oh, very nice. A habit you've kept since you were 19.
Doing my numbers every Monday and making sure that I'm hanging around with the right people all the time because who you hang around with is what you become.
Lovely. Your ultimate go-to strategy for resetting your mindset on a bad day.
Speaking to my current coach.
Coach helps a lot. I love it. Well, thank you for playing along. That was easy enough. We have one final tradition. We call it the green pill reflection. I'm going to ask you one thing that might feel a bit unsettling. Don't give me the PR answer. Give me the truth. What is the one unsettling truth about the cost of having it all? The 7-figure brand, the freedom, and the impact that most inspirational business coaches are too afraid to tell their students.
I think the biggest thing is the fear of losing it all. You build something and then you're like, no, it could be taken away in a second. So for me, I do worry that, it could just disappear and I don't take that for granted.
Well, thank you so much for your honesty, Katie. I appreciate that. Katie, for the listeners who want to read Get Off the Tools or tune into the life of KG or learn more about your global mentorship programs, where is the best place for them to find and follow you?
You can go to katiegodfrey.com, so nice and easy, or anywhere on socials. I'm KG_Katie Godfrey, and you'll just see everywhere access to the book, the podcast. The podcast is called The Life of KG. That's on any podcast station. So yeah, I'm very easily searched. So come and drop me a message and say hi.
Excellent. Thank you. And we'll also put those in the show notes. To our listeners, if today's conversation sparked new ideas about innovation, leadership, or growth, please follow the show and leave us a 5-star review. It helps us reach more founders and entrepreneurs ready to build businesses. Until next time, think bigger, lead smarter, and remember that the business you build should support the life you want to live. If you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe. See you next Wednesday.